So first we'll see that SAP ABAP Introduction to ABAP 4. Right, the content of SAP ABAP, like SAP Introduction, ABAP Introduction, History and Overview of SAP. Then after that we'll learn Architecture of SAP ABAP R3 System, ERP Introduction and Overview, and SAP Module Overview. This we are going to learn overall in this PPT. Right, before this chapter objective, after completing this chapter, you will be able to know that all this process. Right, first thing is to understand what is SAP and introduction and history of SAP, then implementing SAP in a various sector, that introducing to ABAP programming, very basic programming, and what is ERP, why we need ERP, and what is its advantages, and what are the various products in ERP. And also known like we have to know that what is the client server architecture, like SAP is R3 product. So definitely we have to know what exactly single tier architecture system, two tier architecture system, and a three tier architecture system. And SAP R3 pre-configured client, right, PCC, right, pre-configured client, and R3 system configurations, and work process, etc. Then SAP R3 modules, how many modules are these, like functional and technical. This we are going to discuss now. The first introduction, like SAP ABAP session 1. Right, SAP is a systems, applications, and products in data processing. Systems, applications, and products in data processing. This is what SAP abbreviation. SAP is a product name and a company name, both are same. Right, for example, like Oracle is a product name and Oracle is a company name. Right. So before that, history of SAP, when they have started and developed, which is a product, and everything we have to know. SAP product developed by 5 ex-IBM engineers, Welland Ruther, Mr. Hope, Hector, Platran, and Jira. Over the 10 years period, then 20,000 employees researched for to become like a product, and earlier introduced in a European market, because this is a German product. On a 1st of June 1972 by SAP AG. SAP AG stands for Associate German, headquarters in a Waldorf city in German. And now SAP success factor R3. R is a real time, 3 is a 3-tier architecture system. We'll discuss about that, what exactly the R3 systems are coming in the next slides. One thing I wanted to say that you should not pronounce SAP. Okay, SAP is a kind of animal name in a animal pronunciation in a SAP German product. That's what people hesitate to call SAP. We have to call SAP. Right. Coming to the next slide. Implementing SAP in a various sector. For example, your business like into banking sector, or retail, or chemical, food, oil and gas, like steel or insurance, like this, irrespective of whether your business, which stream or which area you are, but our SAP product will be suitable for any business worldwide. Not only this many business, whatever business, definitely the SAP product will be suitable, and many more. So coming to that, SAP competitors, right? You're learning a new product, and definitely you have to know who is the competitor in the market, and what exactly that advantages if you selected, or your client is selected SAP product. So definitely we have to know that, right? SAP R3 has had a competitive with SAP software, like against a lot of products are there in the market. One is Oracle. Oracle is a major competitor compared to SAP, right? Then there is they have launched EB Suite Pack, like with 142 plus modules. Even we have a plenty of modules in SAP, Then PeopleSoft with extraordinary performance in HR module. You know, one module, HR module, if you have a specialized your product, so definitely it is not fulfill your business, right? But finally fail to the gain confidence of a big enterprise. That's what success factor of SAP. You know, when you have a product, so definitely it will fulfill your all business applications. The result in is like SAP has become lead in ERP product. So slowly you can understand what exactly the product achievement and goal in the next coming slides. Right. So we'll talk about a few customers or a channel partners, right? Then worldwide we have a plenty of customers, right? IBM, Compaq, ADM, Boeing, Mercedes, Toyota, or Tata, Redis, like Ranbaxy, and many clients. Just we have done a few listed customers only, right? You can say like in a worldwide out of 10 we can say that at least 7 to 8 uh, the customers already implemented SAP in their sectors, right? So we'll talk about SAP services. If you buy SAP, then what kind of services you'll get, right? There is an online service system. Okay, you know OSS. For example, if you buy official license, right? Then based on that, SAP providing some services, right? For example, uh, if you if you faced any problem while implementation or a support, so directly can raise a request to the SAP people, then so that they can answer like they're based on high priority, medium priority, and low priority. And you know every product will have a OSS key, license key. Based on that OSS node, you can create it and you'll get it. This is the most important services out of all. Right, it could be you are not a first customer, you are not a first implementation partner. So definitely, based on a previous company's implementation or previous companies, what exactly they have done, support project level, everything they have done, maybe the same thing you are facing. Right, that's what you can approach with SAP people. They can guide you, and in terms of like you'll get a PDFs or con calls or phone calls and online support or tech support, all these kind of things you'll get it online service system. But one request is required, access keys and everything is required. Next, consulting service. For example, you're not able to resolve the issues or whatever. I can give a remote access to the people, SAP people, so directly they can approach like a consulting. It's not a charge free. It is maybe they can charge something like consulting, remote consulting, or normal consulting. Right. Next, information services. For example, whenever SAP launched a new product, definitely they have to market themselves. Then they'll approach with their channel partners, customers, and they used to ping that with all the customers who are having their list of, right. You know, like these kind of things, you'll get a brochures, right. CDs and emails like soft copies, etc. Those kind of information services, you know, it's kind of awareness, right? What kind of SAP products are newly launched, everything you'll come to know within as information services. Next one is preventive services. You know, before implementing anything, you have to take some measurements like a preventive, like memory overlap issues, then whether that your company is implemented properly or not. Then it's kind of assurance providing SAP, right? Audit will be happen each and every modules and each and every object. What exactly you have done a customizing in your product, everything comes into the preventive services. Next, final one, there is a maintenance services. You know, if you buy any product, so definitely you'll get a AMC, right? Annual maintenance services. Those kind of things also providing. Out of this, all five, the maintenance services is very basic service. Okay, so this is what services offering. In the next level, you'll get more like when you talk about ASAP methodology and system transportation methodology, then you'll get more knowledge on this SAP services. Yeah, coming to SAP R3 product. R is a real time, 3 is a 3-tier architecture system. Before that, we have to know what exactly the client and server. A client server is a set of software component which includes service requesters and service providers. When you say service requester, it's nothing but a client. Client always used to request from the server as a small exe file or a set of file which can act like a service request, like a GUI is a service, graphical user interfaces. Through that you can request some services, which is known as a client. Whereas a single machine or a group of machine which can act like a service provider, which is known as a server. So based on this, like I will discuss more into what exactly the single tier architecture system. For example, when you say single tier architecture system, everything configured within your PC only. For example, a PC or a laptop. For example, a server is configured in the same PC and a client also configured in the same PC. Right. What kind of advantages here you're getting, then what kind of drawbacks you're facing into this? For example, we'll talk about first advantages. There is a standalone application, right? Because everything is configured in your PC. Then persistent storage location you'll get because the data is in your PC. You're not sharing outside world, and also it's mission dependent, right? There are a lot of response will be faster than yeah, everything secure, right? A less implementation cost. These all comes into the advantages you're facing when you're installing your single tier architecture system. But absolutely nowadays, everybody looking for R3 system like open system kind of thing. Say we'll talk about some drawbacks in this. For example, taxation, right? Government taxation, you have to pay for that. For example, earlier on implementation level, 8 to 12% tax is applicable. But as per government rules and regulations, then they have increased tax percentage from 14 to 20%, for example. Then definitely you have to change your validations at a server side or a client side. In that case, you have to take the downtime. For example, treat your business is running 24/7. You cannot take the downtime. So in that case, how can you validate these kind of things, right? So in that case, this will not be suitable for your business. So definitely, you have to look for other alternative, right? In that case, a lot of drawbacks in terms of, we can say that advantages. So that's what in a two-tier architecture system, we have done a separation like a front-end system and a back-end system, right? In earlier, client and server will have in a same PC. Now it is a server is divided and a client is divided in a separate. So for example, a customer placed an order, right? Request goes to the first time REST request and it is validated or whatever you execute a query, you'll get a response from the back to the client, right? You can easily validate at a client side and you can easily validate it server side, right? When you talk about advantages, fine. Again, still we have some issues with a two-tier architecture system, which is not an open system. For example, when you raise the request again and again, all the time, whenever you request, it will hit the database directly and response is back to the client. In terms of like when you say there is no buffering systems in this, there is no middle tier systems here. In such a case, like we have to look another alternate method So that method is called ABAP, right? Three-tier architecture system in SAP. So this is called as like R3 system, a real-time three-tier architecture system. There are three layers: presentation layer, application layer, database layer. You know, uh, presentation layer, which is nothing but SAP GUI, graphical user interface. Through GUI, when you log in, when you click on that, you have to log in like username, passwords, and default language, EN, whatever. The moment when you connect it is connected your application system or a server or a layer. All the time we are going to write the logic, ABAP logic on uh, application server. The moment when you connect, you are connecting application server. For this, I have given for example purpose J2E, Tomcat, WebLogic. This is not included here, but for example purpose I have provided. Right. You know, for example, when you create a Java any programs, definitely you have to create IFN, INF or web RAR files or whatever jar files, right? All the stuff you have to execute means you have to create all the programs under one application. Either you have to take help from Tomcat, WebLogic, other servers. It acts like a same ABAP also here. It is executing all your programs under this. Next, the request, whenever you write a programs, ABAP programs here, then request goes to here, then it will check the data, whatever you have done in the tables, the response will back to the code here, right? Uh, Earlier we faced in a two-tier architecture system, the same request too many times if you processed, okay, a second time also it is hitting the data from the database directly. Here, there is a buffering concepts are available in this case. Okay, whenever you get that first time, the data will be loaded on into your application server. Buffers are temporary storage area. It will stored on application server on RAM, right? For a given particular time, it will be stored. So whenever you request again, it is response is back to this client, not from the database. It is from your buffer, right? So the success factor of SAP R3 product is real-time three-tier architecture system. So we'll talk about a bit more. SAP R3 is a uh, you know mm, platform, right? Many things are there here. R3 system, which is an open system. Okay, when you say open system, right? So definitely it is like it should support any hardware platform, any operating system what we have provided here, any database, and any dialog window for it is applicable for GUI. And here, that is what today's success factor R3 is: open system. It can support any database, any operating system, any network protocol, TCP, IP, or internet protocol, everything will support. That's what R3 is an open system. SAP will have a majorly two product. One is R2 product and R3 product. R2 product, which is not an open system. R3 product, which is an open system. When you say R2 product will run on only on IBM compatible machines. R3 product which can run on anything on any platform. Right? ABAP is a advanced business application programming language. /4 is nothing but a fourth generation language. It is created based on a C. So, right, that's what a C, C++, whatever other languages will they used to call as a third generation languages. Based on that, they have developed. That's what we are calling ABAP is a fourth generation language. There are no other second or third or like a fifth generation, sixth generation. They have name called as fourth generation. Right. So typically in a hardware core platform level, you can observe like this: a presentation system, SAP GUI. I can log in with any GUI or any browser. An application Sometimes application servers can divide multiple or a one. A group of people can work in a one application. A group of people can work in a same application with the divide processors. Right, database, it is connected with the one database. We'll talk about in depth. So how many kind of work processor layers, how it is happen. Right. So this is what like hardware platforms, right? GUI, a number of persons through presentation, you can access application server and a backend one, hire and configure database servers, right? So when you go to in-depth types of work processor, right? There is a dialog work process, update work process, background work processes like NQ work process, spool work processes. There are n number of processes we'll discuss now. What exactly that? Fine. For example, when you have created or when you are requesting through GUI, first it will goes to the request to the dispatcher. Okay, dispatcher will look it into so what kind of process, what kind of work you are doing. Based on that, the dispatcher works goes to the work processor. Check here, dispatcher first it is goes to the request queue. Okay, then first it will look it into this which dialog process is available. Based on that, is allocated to your PC. Say for example here, when you talk about dispatcher and ABAP application server, in this there are a couple of work processes are available. A dialog work process, okay, like whatever a queue, all the programs or request comes to the dialog work process, and update work process, like any DML or database update manipulations, it will check into the update work process. Any kind of background schedules or background programs process, it will take care this work process. Logging concept and NQ work process, all this will be uh, available under work processes. Like when you create a spool request, like some scripts or smart forms. When you talk about forms, I'll explain in depth in that case. Uh, Request or like a print where you won't get immediately when you click on a print or a print preview. System will create one spool request ID. Those kind of things this processor will take care, right? So once you have completed all the topics, you will come to know what exactly the dialog process. A dialog process is nothing but a screen process, designing the screens. There are types of ABAP programs are different. Okay, you can get more knowledge once you have completed some topics. Right, I will see in depth how it is moving and what kind of request, what is a priority first and second. Check into that. In a bottom level, when you connect with the database, irrespective of any database, the database management system will look at into this. Right, here there is a buffering concept. Right, all these work processes are available on application server, and in a backend level, Oracle Informix like a DB2, MS SQL Server, Max DB2, any database. Then based on it, it will check. Yeah, we'll see in depth how it is moving. What is the first priority, second priority, like this. Fine. The moment when you log in and when you execute your program, the first it will check the request. Okay, first one. Then again, second one, it is goes to the store request in a queue. Okay, dispatcher will identify which dialog work process is available to process this request. Okay, then it will look it into first in a first dialog process based on the request what you have sent. Then it is free. Then all the requests, for example, 2-3 members are requested, or yourself you have requested another program, it will check in a dispatcher. Basically, dispatcher will dispatch or will identify the process and it will allocate to the work process. And it will check first in a third level your request is within a queue or not. Then it is moved into like a fourth step. If request is processed, it will allocate a next dialog process. If it is free, and it is gone and released to the dispatcher again. Right. In a fifth step, when you execute a program, or it will check the program, which kind of program you're writing, whether it is like a normal ABAP executable program or dialog work process programs. Based on that, the request will be allocated to the next dialog work process. For example, you have executed a program. For example, you have written a program like this. The program is executed. After this, the dialog program, it will check the request SQL server or like a DB2 whatever SQL request. Okay, based on that, it will pull the data from the database. Right, the response is back to your application server, and based on that, right, it sends a request to the dispatcher. The request back to the list. The output is you're able to load on your SAP GUI. All these like steps, 10 steps, the sequence it is executed one after another. Right. So internally, like there is a structure of the work process. Right. The work process basically divided like three types: screen processor, ABAP processor, database processor. If your deals with a module pool or a screen programming, okay, like module 1 and 2, the screen programmer, screen processor will check that. Right. In between, like there is a context. You know, user context is a memory that is allocated to contains the characteristics of a user, you know, that is logged on R3 system. It holds information needed whenever it is required R3 about the user in such cases. The user context is setting, and it will check that authorization, the name of the program, and the user is currently running. Based on that, when the user is logged in, the user context is allocated for the logon. Okay, so when you log off, it is checked it is freed or not. The based on the user, like during the program processing, and it is like the importance is described. Okay, based on that, context is checking that each and everything. Right. Next, ABAP processor. Just now what we have discussed, like in between, there is a contains like a role area and a roll in and roll out kind of things. When you talk about role area in a memory, it is allocated to the by work processor, right? For instance, for a proper any programs, it holds the information needed by entire R3 programs. Right, for example, variables, what kind of things you're doing, like a dynamic memory allocations, then current program pointers, everything comes under like a role in and role area. Right, when you talk about a role out, okay, right, ABAP programs only occupies work processor for a dialog step, right, at the end of like work process, a beginning dialog step and ending dialog step, role area and user context rolled out in a work processor level, it will take care. Right. So here in a database interface, for example, it will first look it into the database management system. Based on that, you're converting which kind of programs you're writing. OpenSQL means irrespective of any database what you have created or what you installed. For example, you're writing a program. Your program is backend database is Oracle, right? It will work the same program irrespective of any database if you load it. That's what OpenSQL. When you say like a native SQL, the native SQL statements are like it is directly converted or interpreted irrespective of it is not checking anything. For example, you have written a program on Oracle database, backend database platform level. Then your program will work on only that Oracle product, Oracle database suitable. Mean to say like respective database, okay, it comes into that native SQL. You know, writing the programs quite different. writing that native SQL programs and OpenSQL programs. This database interface will look into which kind of programs it is executing your end. We'll talk about later in the next slides, next presentations, OpenSQL and NativeSQL. I'll describe in detail, in depth, what exactly OpenSQL, what are the keywords we are going to discuss, what is a NativeSQL. Right, back to SAP R3 pre-configured client, next topic. When you say pre-configured, something which is already created, right, pre-configured, which is done by SAP. Okay, before implementation of any project. So client, for example, ABC is a client, right? Client, they have to look the outside line area, which we used to call as a core business, what exactly they are running before SAP implementation or any ERP implementation. Based on their business modules, they can go for R3 product or any other product within SAP, right? Based on R3 product, when you install that R3 product, you'll get a pre-configured client SD, sales and distribution, PP, like a quality management, like a plant maintenance HR, like FICO, controlling, asset management, project system, workflow, industry, solutions or retailing. All this comes in like a PCC. These modules are called as a functional. This area which we can talk about outside like a core client modules, based on that they can map into SAP side. And this wide area, blue color area, which we used to call as a ocean of opportunities for ABAP side. Every ABAPer, okay, we have to support SD people or ABAPer. The same ABAPer can support reports or modules or functions, right? Technical modules like ABAP, we have to support each and every area. When the predefined reports or forms or any other RISE-up components which are not using by client, there is a gap. That gap should be filled by technical person to start developing by using customizing objects. Customizing means when you start a Z reports or start with a Y, a user defined reports you have to create. We'll talk about in bit next slide level how to create a programs and all. Right. Now SAP ERP product. So definitely we have to know that what exactly ERP. Enterprise Resource Planning. ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. We'll discuss what is ERP, why companies are undertake ERP products, and what are the major reasons to integrate your ERP products in a company. Enterprise. When you say enterprise, it's a huge business organization, right? Resource, we have a plenty of natural resources. Based on that 6M's method, right, it is started with M in each letter. Like first one is money. Money means a capital or a budget or general things we are going to talk about in industry. The same thing SAP, they have launched like a module called as FICO. Manpower like HR, a material management, one module like machinery production and planning, then marketing, sales and distribution, methods, project, systems. All these like 6M's, not only 6M's method, plenty of natural resources. Based on that, resources are available. Next one is planning. How effective utilization and optimization of your resources, all these resources, how we are going to use in your organization, that is called as a planning, right? We'll come back this presentation. Okay, first we'll see that if you have ERP without integration. Okay, for example, treat in your organization or ABC organization, they have not implemented any ERP. Then what kind of issues they are going to face it? Fine. For example, a customer placed an order treat, for example, on a first of month, uh, okay, then they have placed an order, and they are looking for like a final product or finished product after 20 days or 30 days. Okay, for example, a typical manufacturing company will have these many resources, these many modules. Let us say service, sales, inventory and supply, manufacturing, data analysis, human resource, then a finance. All these modules are running without any ERP product, or I mean to say, like they are moving the departments and across to the company, like one basket to another basket, like a paper-based journey. It is moving. You mean to say, like files are moving like a paper-based journey. In such a case, definitely will have a lot of drawbacks. One is, time consuming, right? Lot of efforts, manual postings are required in all these cases. Next, sometimes manual entries, duplicate entries, or errors maybe cannot do it properly, cannot handle, and double entry systems. You know, something you can have like a errors or manual interactions, manipulate. Then, if you provide something, like a bribe kind of thing, that is the most dangerous thing. Like you can pay something, you'll get something, right? You'll give something, you'll get something. Error manipulations, everything, right? Truly, no one knows what will happen in this organization if you give a after 10, 15 days as a customer, you have given a call to the company. What exactly my order? Then truly no one knows because you are not maintaining a central server. Each and every department treat that, for example, they are maintaining their own database, right? Their own database or like their own application process. Such a case will have a lot of issues with ERP without integration. For example, ERP with integration, okay, right, all the departments and its functions are connected with one central ERP system or a central server. I'll give you the definition of the ERP. It attempts to integrate all the departments and its functions across to the company into a single system or a single server, which is known as ERP. Now, whatever drawbacks we have faced in previously, without integration, everything we can achieve here because each and every department is connected with the same system, same server. So definitely nobody have no questions. Like everybody on a same temp or a same talk, right? So that's what today's world. Every company is looking ERP products. We'll come back to the previous slide. Major reasons to integrate with ERP products. It could be any product. I'm not talking about ERP, SAP, maybe Oracle, Barn, JD Edwards, or PeopleSoft, whatever. Integrate a financial information. For example, a typical company, huge account or huge business will have a different streamlines and different process. So definitely, as a CEO, they don't want to see that in depth of each and every business minute units, right? They want like what exactly the profit and loss account for this physical financial year. So definitely they want to see that. In such cases, it is required. Okay, ERP integrations, all ERPs or one ERP can all the modules can be integrated properly. Then you can get accurate information. Right. Integrate customer order information. For example, customers will have many customers. All the customers' orders should be integrated, or like taking one under roof, then providing the solutions for the customers. What we have talked about exactly, right previously. Like if you give order after some times, you maybe check anytime so that you can give a proper answers. In such a cases, we'll go for ERPs. Next, standardized manufacturing process. Typical one manufacturing company will have a plant 1 or a plant 2 or a plant 3. Let us say P1, P2, P3. Three plants are available. You can have a same process for one, plant 2, plant 3. You can provide the solution. If plant 1 is taking downtime, the same amount of wet kits you can produce semi-finished to finished product or raw material or final product. Okay, then you can give that control to the another plant or plant 2. Immediately the process will be up. In that case, you can speed up the manufacturing process without taking any downtimes or available process resources. Standardized HR process, big clients, they're starting operations within a same country, continent, or worldwide. Then, if you have a standardized HR unified process, definitely you can communicate to the people directly. Okay, one at a shot, right? So, for example, providing employee benefits, health issues, insurance, whatever, blah blah, you're going to communicate with the people, right? Directly can go through with standardized HR process with ERP solutions. I reduce inventory. Inventory is nothing but a stock, right? Uh, Keeping unnecessary stock in your godowns or a process, it is wasting your resource, means wasting your capital or a budget. Instead of that, with the ERPs, we can go through like a checkpoints, right? Min order, max order, or reorder, whatever process you can do it. For example, if you're having a max order, okay, then you can stop your production, unnecessarily keeping stock in your godown point, right? You're wasting your amount or resource or like space utilization, everything. If you're having a reorder, if your checkpoint is reached, reorder, you can start reorder from outsource or you can start your production planning. Right, in this based on reorder, min order, max order, based on that you can reduce your inventory. That same funds you can divert into other application also. Right, this we have already discussed major reasons. That's what the people, not only 5 that major reasons, we'll have a plenty of reasons. Right. ERP products, this is what like SAP product, BAN, Arkil, apps like a PeopleSoft, JD Edwards. Now earlier they have like their own PeopleSoft and JD Edwards, BAN are independent uh, ERP products. Now everything taken over by Oracle apps. There is no more independent vendors. This all included in Oracle apps because the success factor of SAP and they want to launch new products and new apps like applications. Then they matched all together and they are launching new products. Right, each and as a client, definitely a little bit confusion which product you want to buy in application. For example, Oracle. Oracle earlier they used to support only finance as a major success factor of Oracle. Now they are launching new product, new modules also, but they failed into like when you comparatively like Oracle product in SAP. So definitely it supports in all the cases. PeopleSoft extraordinary performance like HR, a JD Edwards support manufacturing, a Barn supports manufacturing but failed in a technical modules. Ramco and Lawson is a old products, ERP product, right? It supports manufacturing and healthcare process. Have plenty of ERPs like local ERPs, Wings and Tally. When you talk about Middle East or Asia specific, then they have small vendors they cannot offer crores of rupees to buy ERP products. Right? Every ERP will have a specialization. What exactly your business? Based on that, you can choose your product. ERP, SAP ERP is strong and very good at core PCC R3 level and other latest module also. Based on that, you can say like a 60% global ERP, SAP ERP market is captured. The rest of the like a 40 or a 30, 70 to 30% like nowadays, rest of the market is captured by all other ERP products. Right. When you talk about SAP modules, SAP package is strategically divided into 2 main areas, right? Functional and a technical. People will have a people will have with the domain experience they can work directly on a functional module. You know, a domain means a core industry experience is required. For example, if you take a salesperson, they know better how to sell the product, right? Uh, Core industry domain is required to choose a functional because you have to convey the people how you have to configure in your SAP. People who are having the programming knowledge, they can work on technical module, because programming skills are required. A basic ABAP, if you want to start a C or SQL, basic coding part is required. Based on that, SAP functional, all PCC modules are comes into this, right? SD, PP, FI, right? Up PS, BPC, business process consolidation, and a GRC, BI, right? BW functional, then CRM functional, SRM functional. All this APO comes under like a SAP functional, many modules. Uh, right side SAP technical. ABAP is a technical purely like ABAP is a own proprietary language construct for SAP and a basis, admin like installations, BI technical, right? Business intelligence and exchange information or information exchange. XI now it is become like a PI, right? ABAP Web Dan Pro workflow, right? HR ABAP, lot of modules like a technical side. Okay, ABAP HANA latest module, right? This all the comes on like a functional module. Plenty of module, more than 100 modules are supported SAP. Right, people will have both experience. We can say like a techno-functional. Chances are high for technical because functional they cannot learn easily technical or programming skills, right? You know, technical people who are having already exposure or gain knowledge in a technical, they can shift it into functional, or like if you have a both expertise, then you can have a technical or a techno-functional. So this is what complete SAP history, introduction, then modules,